Okay, are you ready for the classroom today? We have Matt Bellis of Liberty HealthShare. We're going to talk about how to achieve optimal health through Liberty HealthShare. And Emily Boller is going to talk about her book called Starved to Obsession. And of course, yesterday we talked with Dr. Joel Fuhrman, and she loves Dr. Joel Fuhrman too. So fasten your seatbelt. We're going to learn and grow together. So it's time to dance, guys. I hope.
The Lillian McDermott Show.
We love, we fear, bridges we burn, we make mistakes, then we live and learn. When life gets tough, and it seems like your best ain't good enough. If you're in need of hope, you know where I'll be right here. Right here, and when you need a friend, you can count on me. I'll be right here, waiting for
you. This is the place you can always turn to when you need a friend. The Lillian McDermott Show. To reach out to Lillian, visit her on the web at whenyouneedafriend.com. Now let's all learn together. Here's Lillian McDermott.
Hello, my listening friends and viewing friends at Facebook Live. It is so nice we can meet each other on the air on this beautiful best day ever. And for those of you who have been tuning in to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show classroom since 2011, or maybe tuned in yesterday for the first time with Dr. Fuhrman, please know that I am so grateful that you've been tuning in. But if it's the first time that you've been in the classroom, please know I've been waiting for you. This is a safe place where you can go to when you need a friend. It is my commitment to provide alternative ways to heal, and it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening, as well as my viewing friends at Lillian's radio show on Facebook Live, will feel empowered to embrace a new truth and live the life of your dreams, your best life naturally. As you know, it is my registered service mark, and it goes like this. You can take a pill or you can take responsibility. It's not that I'm against the pill, is that I am for doing everything you possibly can to live the healthy life that you were created with a perfect body. And somehow along the way, we mess it up. Whether it's childhood traumas, whether it's, no knowledge of what good nutrition is all about. It could be just about anything. But once you realize something is going on, then it's our responsibility. We're the only ones that can change it. So today we have Emily Boller, and she has a basic nutrition with Dr. Joel Fuhrman, and she was certified by Dr. Joel Fuhrman and the Nutritarian Health Institute, or Nutritarian Education Institute, and she is the author of Starved to Obesity. And this is an important day today because I think this is the first time we've ever had someone release 100 pounds. And so not only did they do it like a week ago, they did it 10 years ago, 11 years ago. And so now she's sharing her wisdom with us in the classroom. But here's the deal. We also have Matt Bellis of Liberty HealthShare. And one of the aspects of Liberty HealthShare that I absolutely love is that we're able to, if you're not in optimal health, they have something called Health Track that will help you achieve that. And today we're going to talk about not only how to get into this optimal health through Liberty HealthShare, but with Emily as well. And since it is our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge, I am grateful that both Emily Boller and Matt Bellis are here to do just that. Welcome, guys, to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show classroom.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you. It's a privilege to be here.
Yes. And so we're going to start with Matt. and then we'll continue with Emily. So Matt, as I shared with you that Emily had released 100 pounds, what are some of the thoughts that are coming on when it comes to, how Liberty HealthShare is helping people as well get to that optimal health?
Well, first off, I have to say that's incredibly difficult. To lose that much weight is a very difficult process. You have to have a lot of determination. You almost have to be singularly focused. And so I have to commend anybody who has gone through that type of change.
Yes.
Must have a lot of discipline to do so. And that's a part of the issue when it comes to losing weight, to changing your lifestyle. A lot of times we have to do these things alone. And it's a determination, which is great. And if you're somebody that's out there that can do that, that's fantastic. And I commend Emily for being able to do that.
Yes.
For the rest of us who are not gifted with such great determination, it really does help to have somebody in your corner. And so when Emily was telling me about this, I was just thinking, wow, it'd be great for those who are in our Health Track program, who are trying to lose weight, stop smoking, who are trying to reverse their type 2 diabetes, normalize their blood pressure. For those who are in our program to try and reach a better, healthier lifestyle, it would be fantastic to have Emily in their corner saying, you can do it.
Yes.
A few more steps. Put down that cheeseburger.
Yeah.
I made a confession a few weeks ago that I am a raging cinnamon bun-aholic. So I have to put those things away and make better choices. And so having a coach to help you through the process of what you want to obtain, having that little bit of accountability really does go a long way to changing your life and your lifestyle. And so when I heard that about Emily, I just thought I would love to be able to bottle her and put her in front of all of our Health Track members.
Well, this could be great reading for the Liberty HealthShare members that are in Health Track. So let's talk about, Matt, let's talk about open enrollment. We discussed that last time and how people can join Liberty HealthShare. But I also would like to know how Health Track is that, how do people sign up for Health Track?
Sure. As a lot of people know, open enrollment season is right around the corner. So a lot of people are taking the time during September and October to really understand what is going on out there in the world of healthcare so that they can make informed, wise decisions. I actually, I liken it to September being the Monday of the year where everybody gets back to work and starts making the hard decisions that they have to. Yeah. And so this is the time that people are thinking about those things. Now, if you're coming from a standpoint where you may want to join Liberty HealthShare, but you're concerned about maybe a possible pre-existing condition, maybe you feel like obesity might be an issue, or smoking might be an issue, or your blood pressure might be an issue. All of those types of things, those aren't issues for us in terms of joining us through our program called Health Track. So if you're somebody who's coming to us with those types of lifestyle issues, what we would do is we sign you up for our program called Health Track. Health Track is an extra $80 per month charge whenever you sign up for Liberty HealthShare. But again, with that, you get a health coach that works with you through some predetermined self-set goals that whenever you reach those goals, you then graduate from Health Track and you retain your Liberty HealthShare membership. But frankly, it's just been fantastic to see that we've had a program where people have lost, collectively tens of thousands of pounds. Smokers throwing away their last pack of cigarettes and folks reversing their type 2 diabetes, normalizing their blood pressure. It's been fantastic to see that type of lifestyle change just by the simple act of having somebody on the other end of a phone line who cares. Somebody who just cares just a little bit to help you track your goals, to provide some accountability, to make sure you reach what you want to do. And so it's a fantastic time to look into healthcare. And if you have those types of lifestyle conditions, don't be afraid. Come talk to Liberty HealthShare. We're more than willing to help you out.
And Liberty HealthShare, you can find them at libertyhealthshare.org. You can find them at whenyounneedafriend.com. And Liberty HealthShare, you can call them at 855-58-LIBERTY. That's 855-585-4237. So Matt, when it comes to the cost for Liberty HealthShare, and I want people to understand what they get. It's like you step away. When I stepped away from health insurance and I went towards HealthShare, it was scary. And but at that time, I felt I needed to try it. And that was 3 years ago. So we've been, I've been a member of Liberty HealthShare for 3 years. And although I'm not single, it was going to cost me more money to be added onto my husband's insurance than to do, than to go with HealthShare as a single. It was going to save me $500. So I pay, is it $299 for a single? How much is it for a family?
$399 for a couple and $529 for a family of 3 or more. And that's for our most comprehensive program within our within Liberty HealthShare.
Yes.
And so if everybody looks at that and thinks, well, if there's something cheaper, there's something cheaper, absolutely. But that's the most that we have within our program.
And a family can be a family of 3, or it could be a family of 10, right?
You can see some of the families that we have coming out of Utah. So
yes, you don't want was it the Duggar family? That's like 100 kids?
24 and more or something like that?
Yeah. So what do people get for the membership?
Well, whenever you're a part of Liberty HealthShare, really you're joining a community of people who are really caring. What I like to say is that Liberty HealthShare really is there for those times that are unexpected and unaffordable. And you're coming up with a community here that respects you as an individual, that wants to empower you whenever you are at the doctor's office, making the choices that you want, guiding and directing your own healthcare about where you want to go, who you want to see, making those decisions that you want. And during those times that you have a medical bill that is completely a surprise and something that you can't afford, that's when the community comes in and helps you pay for your medical bills. And so you're getting a big giant family that you can turn to in your time of need.
Absolutely. And $1 million per incident. So this is not like begging for money. It's there for you when you need it. Matt Bellis, thank you so much. You're always a delight. And I love your new moves. I love the first time you came on. I don't know if you were going to dance or not, but now you are really rocking it. And
thank you so much.
So it's nice to see you. And I look forward to our next conversation, Matt.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. That's Liberty HealthShare. You can go to my website under my sponsors, or you can go to libertyhealthshare.org and start the conversation. Learn. Be curious instead of critical, and learn how they can support you. They've supported me. As you know, I've gone through breast implant illness, and they have been a great source of support for me as well. And so that's 855-58-LIBERTY. That's 855-585-4237. Now we get to shift, because Matt doesn't know what I know about this woman when it comes to willpower, when it comes to what is it that he said, Emily, that you had the dedication and all of that. Dedication. And so that's the thing, that we think that if we have dedication, we can achieve great things. Sometimes we have to muster it, create it, and redesign it, repurpose our life. And so I just want to acknowledge you that this didn't come easy for you. Yeah. And you started this journey at the age of 47, where, so you know, although that's a spring chicken for me, that was, think about it, 11 years ago. And people would say, well, what good is it for me? I'm older or whatever. Time's going to go by. Might as well be fabulous at it. Yes. So share a little bit about your background. Thank you so much for coming on today.
My pleasure to be here. When I was, I grew up in Fort Wayne, Indiana, on a farm just outside of Fort Wayne. And so my parents, they had a big vegetable garden and everything, but sugar was the main part of our meals. We put sugar on tomatoes, sugar in the coleslaw, sugar on the potato salad. And so I developed an addiction to sweets early on. And by the time I went to first grade, I was very chubby. And so my mom, being a very loving mother, did what any good mother would do, and she put me on a diet,
Of
you know,
course.
because I was starting to get called names at school at that age. And so I went to school every day with a thermos of some iceberg lettuce with Catalina salad dressing, and by noon it had, you know, gotten all soggy, and a grapefruit, half a grapefruit, a hard-boiled egg, and some ham in that.
Wow.
And by the time I got off the bus, though, I was starving. And so she had, she would go to the outlet store, the Hostess outlet store, and
Oh,
get Twinkies, boxes of Twinkies. They would be in the freezer. And I would go, and after school, I would just binge on Twinkies because I was just so hungry, not realizing, you know, the deficiency of the nutrients in my body, just everything was creating this firestorm of addiction.
hmm
And then by the time I was in sixth grade, it just got worse and worse. And then, as in a kid of the 60s, name calling and bullying was very, very prevalent back then.
yeah.
It isn't like it is today where they try to put a hamper on it. And so the name calling was just off the charts. And I knew the only way I could survive high school was to lose weight. And so without telling anybody, I went to school every day with an orange. And I lost the weight, started running. I was popular in high school because when you can fit into a pair of jeans, all of a sudden you have new friends that you never had when you could. But
Wow.
that went too far, became anorexic. Then when I got married at age 20, my husband, just before, we've been married now 38 years, but just before the wedding, I said, you know, I think I have a food problem. Back in the 70s and the 80s, we didn't know a thing about food addiction. I mean, maybe there was some literature out there,
hmm
but without the internet, we didn't know about it. And when I told him that, he goes, "Oh, no problem. Everybody eats, you know, a piece of cake, an extra piece of cake." But just before the wedding, he noticed he goes, "I think you should lose about 5 pounds." Oh my goodness. That sent me into binging. So we got married. I was young. I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to tell my parents because, you know, I wanted to prove to them that I was old enough to get married.
Sure.
And within 5 years, I started putting on a lot of weight. I had 3 babies in 3 years, put on more weight. And by the time I was 38 years old, I had my youngest child. I was gestational, had gestational diabetes at that point, and I was 100 pounds overweight at age
Mm.
38. But I didn't know what to do. And then at age 41, I had a heart catheterization and had coronary artery disease. I had shortness of breath. I knew that I was sitting on a time bomb of either a
Sure.
stroke or a heart attack. And so when I was 47, I actually took a trip to Italy. I'm an artist, I'm a painter, and to study the art renaissance over in Italy and Greece.
hmm
And if anybody has ever seen the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, it's just, you know, and I just had this realization when Michelangelo painted that, it was like I would never think of smearing mud on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. But here I was every day just smearing mud on my body, you know, by
Mm.
the foods I was putting in. So, but I still was so addicted to the food that even with all of those scares of heart disease, maybe a stroke, shortness of breath, I still couldn't lose the weight because I was so addicted to food.
hmm
And then I decided to make an art exhibit out of, you know, I had read Dr. Fuhrman's book about 5 years before that. But I tell you what I did. I read that book and I put it away because it's
hmm
like it
You weren't
sounded
ready.
good. I wasn't ready. It
Yeah.
made total sense, but I really incorrectly thought I could never do it. I mean, I have 5 kids by this time. How am I going to feed a family? So I put it on the shelf, but I got that book out. I thought, okay, I am going to use food as an artistic medium. Just like a painter uses paint and a potter uses clay, I'm going to use food and see what it does to my body. You know, Dr. Fuhrman claims that it can, eradicate my diabetes and my heart disease, and I'm just going to experiment with this. So I made an online art exhibit, and every month I started with a doctor's appointment, and every month I recorded my blood pressure. I posted pictures of my changing body size.
And I wanted you
Oh,
guys to see
yes.
this.
Yes. That was here. Yeah, here's my before picture here.
Oh boy.
Yeah. But that day is July 10th, 2008. Within about 10 months, I lost 100 pounds.
10 months. 10
10
months.
months.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
So let me just give you guys,
Yes.
because Emily is giving away to 3 people. And so we're going to do the 369. So actually, yeah, we're going to do 369. So instant message me if you're watching on YouTube later on or listening on a podcast. You too can try. You can, because you never know who. Everybody thinks they're not going to win. So if you just even try, you have a better chance at winning at somebody who doesn't think they're going to win. But it's called Starve to the Obesity. It's like the how-to guide. So if you don't know where to start, this simplifies what Dr. Fuhrman talks about. This simplifies all the shaming that you're going through. It simplifies all that. So you have a partner like Matt was talking about earlier to help you with motivation, inspiration. So if you go to facebook.com/Lillian's radio show, you can instant message me that you want the book. It's called Starve to Obesity. And so the 3rd, the 6th, and the 9th, you will get your book. So with that in mind, you're talking about the 10 months real quick, but during that 10 months, you had some major things that were happening in your life. So I don't want to gloss over and people say, oh, she had it easy, right? There were a lot of other things that were happening. Would you like to share?
Yes, 4 days into eating high nutrient foods. We have at that time, we had a son who had type 1 diabetes. And when he would eat too much sugar without covering insulin, like if he would on a birthday eat, M&Ms and not cover insulin, his mind, if his numbers went over 350, his blood sugar numbers, he would start hallucinating and he wouldn't know his name and he would start having psychosis. So we were right off the bat in and out of hospitals trying to regulate his blood sugars, his mental state. And one night, in the middle of the night, about a month into this journey, a bed opened in Cincinnati, Ohio at a children's hospital. And that's a 3.5-hour drive away. And I had the option that night. I thought, you know what? I could go back to the way I was eating and nobody would care. Everybody would understand. Or I call it a pivotal moment. We all have a pivotal moment. Sometimes we have several pivotal moments where we come to a crossroads. We can either go back or we can go forward. And I just knew that night that I had to keep going forward with this. So I literally opened the vegetable drawer of the refrigerator, dumped all the contents of vegetables into a cooler, and we took off in the middle of the night for Cincinnati, Ohio. And I didn't know where I was going to stay. I didn't know how I was going to eat. But during that time, I learned to eat very simply out of the trunk of a car. I had a gallon of water, and there was a drain in the parking garage of the hospital parking garage, and I would literally rinse my lettuce, and I got a can opener from a grocery store. There was a little grocery store not far away, and I literally, about a month, I ate out of the trunk of my car, just the 3 meals a day, simple. And I came back to Indiana after my son got better. He still had some recovery to do, but I was 40 pounds lighter after 3 months. So I tell everybody, you can do this if you have a huge budget and a gourmet kitchen and you love to cook recipes, or you can do it if you are just living out of the trunk of a car. You know, that's the beauty about vegetables. They change the whole addictive nature. And I want to tell you, the first week that I switched to eating, you know, a plant-based diet, I literally was gagging on the greens. It was not pleasant because I was going from macaroni and cheese and pizza to eating salad and kale. And I just remember at that moment thinking, okay, I have a choice here. I can either go on insulin in 2 or 3 years, or I can learn to like the kale and the salads. And now, I mean, within about 3 weeks, I loved the kale. Dr. Fuhrman says your taste buds change. They really do change. Everything that Dr. Fuhrman says is true. And I found that, you know, by doing this art exhibit is like an experiment. And my body really did change. And 10 months later, I had 100 pounds off. But the more important than even the weight off is I no longer had heart disease. I no longer had diabetes. Pre-diabetes. I no longer had stiff joints, low back pain. I had painful boils. Oh, I had all kinds of things. I literally became immobile. My children, when they were growing up, did not know a mother who participated in games and sports. I never rode a bicycle. I fell through the soccer chair at my kids' soccer games a couple times. I mean, I just became increasingly handicapped and increasingly immobile. And it came in such incremental of giving up that I didn't realize it, how much I was.
Yeah. So let's take a snapshot.
Yes.
And I didn't mean to interrupt it because I just wanted to like take a snapshot of this because you're describing a 38-year-old woman. You're describing a 47-year-old woman. That the line of obesity and the mindset of obesity, which is I inherited it from my parents and therefore this is my fate, almost as if your DNA rules your life. But what we found with epigenetics is that what we inherit are the family recipes and the mindset. So let's talk about your mindset, maybe during that time that you're falling through a chair or the bleachers or whatever it is. Let's talk about that lowest of low moment where you feel that, you know, maybe you're not worthy, whatever. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but how you got yourself. I know you were inspired by the Sistine Chapel, but how do you keep that motivation going, Emily, that you can bottle it up and help others say, I can do that?
Well, I think for me personally, it came to a point of, you know, desperation. I mean, I literally, and you don't have to be to that point of desperation. You can just only have, you know, 20 pounds, or maybe it's acne you want to clear, maybe it's lupus you want to clear, maybe it's just psoriasis.
Good point.
You do not have to have weight to lose, but our culture is so addicted to food that, you know, it's everywhere. But I tell everybody, and I firmly believe this, it sounds, when you look at switching to a plant-based diet, it looks overwhelming. But what people don't realize is once you get through that first week, that first 2 weeks, the toxins that are really driving you to overeat, that are just the cravings that are irresistible, they start to calm down. And then about 2 to 3 weeks into it, your taste buds change. And so by the time you're a month, 2 months into it, you don't want to go back to eating pizza and macaroni and cheese. And I know it sounds like a willpower thing. And at the beginning, you have to make a steadfast commitment and, support. Like you were talking earlier, support is so important, especially through those first weeks that you're going through this.
Yeah.
But I tell everybody, your taste buds change, your desires, your cravings, they subside. So you're not going around like, okay, today I'm not going to eat that cheesecake. And it's like, I don't want that cheesecake. It's too sweet. Or, okay, today I'm not going to eat that pizza. And you're white knuckling it through everything. Sure. At the beginning, the first week, maybe a little bit of that, but that's where you surround yourself with support. I encourage everybody that first week not to eat out and not to make plans with friends that first week, because you really need that first week of just focus. You know, if you're out for lunch with a friend and they'll say, "Oh, you can have that piece of bread," or "Oh, you can have that." The first thing you do when you're that, shaky and wobbly during that time is to go back. So, people think it's really hard, and it is. I'm not lying. The first week is really hard for most people. But
Yeah.
once you get through that, it gets easier. And that's what makes this sustainable.
Yeah, and that's why the standard American diet is as toxic as a drug. We have an
Oh,
opioid addiction. We have problems with, I really do believe that the food industry and the pharmaceutical industry are one and the same. They're feeding on each other, so to speak. And I want to remind you that if you would like a copy of Emily's book, it's called Store Up to Obesity. Instant message me at Lillian's radio show. First of all, you have to like me and follow me, and in order to be a part of this. And if you're doing that through YouTube or all my social media, of course, I would like for you to be a follower, like, or subscriber, or whatever. But the 3rd, the 6th, and the 9th instant message. And there is a listener that or a fan that sent me a private message yesterday, and I want her to know that she's getting a book. I don't care if she doesn't. I don't care if she well, I think she will. But this book, when she wrote to me, I thought, oh, when she hears your story of loss, Emily, you will speak to a lot of people as well, because you went through a lot during this time. It wasn't discipline only.
yeah.
And so I want to remind you that the 3rd, 6th, and 9th, we'll get a copy of this a book. And so with that in mind, I also want to go back. You've got some great tips of setting yourself up for success. You actually have a chapter in your book about setting yourself up for success. So you talk about that fork in the road, that moment where you're trying to decide, am I going to go towards illness or am I going to go towards wellness? There are going to be hurdles no matter what.
Yes.
But setting yourself up. I know that when I go to the gym, if I'm planning on going to the gym at 5 o'clock in the morning, if I don't set my clothes out the night before, my shoes, my socks, whatever I need to go to the gym, I know I don't really mean it. But if I set it, and if we're focusing on not eating pizza or not eating this, we're focusing on what we don't want. So what you did, and what I loved what you did, was you were focusing on what you wanted. You wanted health. You didn't fear missing out on something. You were totally embracing good health. So let's talk about some of this. You have a 6-week plan with Dr. Fuhrman 6-week plan. And so, but these, not eating the way the standard American diet, all the sugars, all the pastries, all the whatever that you have, you also were going through a withdrawal. It was like withdrawing from opioids as well. So during that time, did you ever think, I can't do this? What was that turning point that you said, I got this? I got this.
Well, I just knew, I think even from starting, it really a month before I even started, there's a book called Drunkard by Neil Steinberg. And he's a writer for the Chicago Sun-Times. And he wrote this book about his alcoholic adventure, or, his process, how he got out. And prior to this time, I didn't really believe that I had an addiction. I just had a food problem, or I just decided not to diet. But it was that book that opened my eyes to see this is an addiction, just like an alcoholic turns to alcohol and stress. And so I knew from the get-go that I had to change my mindset, that this was an addiction. This was not something, in a month from today, I can lose 20 pounds and then go back and have whatever I want.
Yeah.
And what helped me during those times, I literally, I typed out Dr. Fuhrman's 6-week plan on little index cards. I took them to an office supply store and got them all laminated. And during all those up and down of crisis with my son, in and out of hospitals, they were on a card, and that card, everything I was to eat made all of my decisions. When I went to the grocery store, it made all my decisions what I was to buy. When I was in a car, I had one on my car, I had one in my purse, I had one in my book, I had one on my mirror. Everywhere I went, that first month especially, because it is so tempting to go back to that blueberry pie because you will feel better. That's the sad part. When you're going through toxic withdrawal, and that's those first 3, 4, 5 days of just getting these toxins out of your system, you will instantly feel better if you have that cookie, or if you go to McDonald's and have that drive-through, whatever it is, you will feel better. And so during that first week, those cards really helped me. And I tell everybody, and I mean this with all my heart, everybody wants to know what the secret to this is. And after talking, I've interviewed so many people these last 11 years.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the number one issues that most people have is their kitchen becomes the drop-off place of the purse, the kids' backpacks, the mail. I tell everybody, take 5 minutes every morning and unload the dishwasher. And you say, well, how does that have to do what does that have to do with losing weight? It's like when you have a clean sink, you can put all the dishes that you eat as you eat throughout the day, as your family eats. You can be loading the dishwasher, and then the counters stay cleaner. Train the kids not to dump their backpacks when they get off, of the school bus right on the kitchen counter. But just having clean counter space to prepare food is a really important tip. And I know it's like totally a practical tip, but you wouldn't believe how a cluttered kitchen stops people from pursuing this any farther when they don't feel good.
I think the step between a food problem and acknowledging there's an addiction is crucial, because people that have alcohol problems or drug problems, they can clean it up. Mm-hmm. But people who have food issues, they can't. No. You can see it physically when somebody has a food addiction. Not just a food problem, but a food addiction. That is the different, and you have to eat. Mm-hmm. You don't have to do drugs. You don't have to smoke. You don't have to drink alcohol, but you have to eat. So that, calling it whatever, but you're not a food addict. You are someone who is a nutritarian. You have recovered from that. And that's what we talked about yesterday with Dr. Joel Fuhrman, the nutritarian lifestyle, and what we've continued on with the conversation. I want to remind you, third, sixth, and ninth person to get a will get a copy of this book. Instant message me at Lillian's radio show. I also want to encourage you to go to whenyouneedafriend.com, become a subscriber. That's how you know who's going to be in the classroom. And that's how you know how to link up to our guests, our teachers. And so please make sure you subscribe to whenyouneedafriend.com. Also, when you're there, play around. There's lots of icons for social media, YouTube, Instagram, whatever it is. Follow, like me, share, invite your friends, because what I want to talk next with Emily is the sabotaging that happens not only with your friends, but within your own mind when you don't set yourself up for success, which there's lots of tips in this book and how to do so. But as you know, we have people who've taken a stand to share this information, that you can't go on television and hear Emily talking about food addictions and how to be able to say, okay, I'm not going to be an addict anymore. I am going to take back my health. And the way I do it is by eliminating the lie, not buying into the lie. So these sponsors have taken a stand, and sponsors like Liberty HealthShare, Keep Me Safe Organics Worldwide. So even if you're not eating you might not be eating toxic foods, but you might be putting toxic chemicals on your face, your body, and you get 10% off with Keep Me Safe Organic. So check them out. First Alternative Care, 24/7, all the urgent, non-urgent medical help and dermatology, and 3 hours a year of behavioral health counseling. Talk about something that you need for $45 a month, plus the portal that'll help you. We have Dr. Stephen Grable, who is a holistic, integrative, functional. He's taken a stand also. We have the pharmacy in Merritt Island. Tell them I sent you, get 20% off your compounds, or for your animals as well. And Live Longer Medical, that is trying to help you be as beautiful on the inside as you are on the outside. And also you can become an enrolled student. So go to whenyouneedafriend.com, click on my sponsors page or my enrollment in all of us. Make sure, because it costs to have the classroom. It is not free, but it is free to use. So help me bring this and help the classroom grow. So again, please go to @Lillian's Radio Show on Facebook, instant message me, and get started in your life. Because sometimes when Dr. Fuhrman comes on, he can rattle off, Emily. It's almost like having a servant. He's so smart about everything. And it could be so overwhelmed, but it's like steps, a step here, a step there, and you're guiding them along the way, saying, you're not alone. I've been there.
It's interesting. I found some pictures after my parents passed away, some pictures of me when I was younger. And there are pictures, I'm embarrassed for my children to see them, my adult children now. You can see, they call it brain fog, but it's a cognitive impairment of the brain. You literally can see it in my eyes. All those years I was addicted, and it was like, I was like, just not there. It's like, I'm really sad that my children grew up with a mother like that, because I felt good. I could put on a happy face, but in the evening when everybody was in bed, I would, just binge eat on sugar and things, and just had that, just like an alcoholic. And I want to encourage all your listeners from my heart. The first year I did this, and this really has happened, and I've heard so many horror stories since. Someone tried to stuff a chocolate eclair in my mouth that year. No, there's going to be some people that will support you, but a lot of people will not support you. And so you've got to get support. And I'm so glad you're offering support for people, because it's an addiction that you need help. You need to reach out to others for help.
Yeah, we can't sugarcoat it. Excuse the pun. We can't sugarcoat this anymore, because if you are overweight and you don't know how to stop, if you're not addicted, you're on your way to addiction. And so what I love about your story, Emily, and thank you so much for reaching out to me and sharing your story, because it's so important that people don't feel like they have to reinvent the wheel, that they're the only one that has the food addiction. And so there's shame, there's blame, and there's, like when you said, I'm so ashamed of that picture, or I'm so sorry that my kids saw this. But guess what? We're all teachers.
Yes.
You teach people how to be or how not to be. If it were between you having the addiction or your children having the addiction, what would you choose, right?
Oh, absolutely. Me have it, and I got out. My kids aren't addicted to food, and that's just, they're young adults, and to see them healthy and vibrant that way, it's like,
And how wonderful that you nipped that early, because my kids are older, so I have no impact over them. I have more impact over strangers than I do over my own family. Yeah. So I get it. So you were going to say something when I was.
Yes, I do want to say something about my children. My son, who had type 1 diabetes, when he was 21 years old, he died by suicide. And so I was probably 4 or 5 years into this. The weight had been off for 4 or 5 years, and basically he died of a junk food overdose.
Isn't that amazing?
And thank you. A week before he died, He literally went to all the fast food restaurants and got everything off the menu. He went to the grocery store and bought sacks of the sugar type cereal, just sacks of those, and cookies, 2 liter pop sodas. And right before the funeral, I went through his car and his trash, and I found all these. I even laid them out in the driveway and took a picture of all the wrappers. And so I have a passion that we may not want to change our food addictions, but we've got to stop so the next generation does not have this addiction. And I know that may not be motivating for some people, but this is only going to increase, and our children are going to just go down that same dark rabbit hole, and disease is happening younger and younger now. So yeah, I encourage everybody, even if they don't want to do, change, get out of the addictions, reach out for help for yourself so that your children don't develop that addiction too.
Yes.
And during that time of bereavement, I lost all my appetite for a while, and I did not want to eat greens anymore or vegetables. I just had no appetite. And so, I started eating more low nutrient foods, and they were okay, like oatmeal and peanut butter and handfuls of almonds. But, by doing that, by replacing the nutrients with more high calorie foods that were low in nutrients, the addiction started coming back. Some of my blood numbers started, inching higher. And so I tell people this: if you're going through a tragedy or even the loss of a job, anything that could set you back, reach out for help. And sometimes it takes professional help, a counselor, to really heal your heart. Our hearts, we don't realize how much our hearts get broken. And if we've turned to food at all, if we have a habit of doing that, it's really easy to go back to that. So I encourage everybody, if you're going through a hard time, get counseling, get prayer support, get friends to support you. You're going to have to really beef up the support. And I even went and got massage during that time. That helped me to get massage. But life happens. It gets really hard sometimes.
And I know that this isn't, and I do want to maybe bring you back and talk about how to heal and how to manage. I can't imagine your loss. How to manage your life and continue to live after your child has ascended. How do you go on? And so, especially when it was, even though it's suicide, I don't think people understand what they're doing. They're taking away their pain, but the people who are left to survive, the guilt. And so I do want to talk about that in the future, but because, yes, I don't think that you would have had the discipline you had, because even though you slid, people need to know that happens too.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I tell everybody, by the time Daniel died, I had 4 or 5 years under my belt, and I developed, I call it Nutritarian muscle.
Oh, you did.
I developed muscle, and I knew, even though I ate oatmeal and things, I never went back to pizza and ice cream and things. But I tell everybody, this is a process, and the stronger you can make your muscles, by making those choices and those pivotal moments. When you make a choice to continue on with this, it develops your muscle. That resistance that you have, just like at the gym, when you have a weight that's hard to lift, but and you power through and do it, it builds your muscle. And that's with the Nutritarian, eating, Dr. Fuhrman's way of eting.
Let's talk about the way of eating, because yesterday when people were on, they were saying, okay, what is the diet? What is it? This is a lifestyle change, because that diet mentality, talk about that diet mentality and what it did to you.
Oh my goodness. I was like starting a diet every Monday morning. I was starting a new diet, and I did all of the diets that are popular, the high protein, the low carb, you name it, I did it. And this one, the reason this one was so different, I could focus on all the foods I could eat. Do you know there are like 600 beans out there? I didn't even know that there were that many. And tomatoes and varieties of apples and carrots and kale. There's so many ways of cooking, a plant base, and the nuts and seeds, all of it combined. And so this is why it's sustainable long term,
Yes.
because it's like I can eat this way for the rest of my life. I
And
love
it's
it.
good. It's delicious.
It
It's delicious.
is.
There's no fad attached to this.
Yes,
Right?
and it's not, okay, I'm going to get 20 pounds off and then go back to my cheeseburger. Oh, I can't wait till I get 30 pounds off so I can go back to Dairy Queen. No, you don't want to go back. And you feel so much better that you don't want to go back to those dark places.
Yes. And so
And
how do you handle that spiral downward now? I mean, when you first got started, did you have those moments where, you felt like you wanted to go back, or that
oh,
you did?
yes. Yeah, there were moments that, I wanted to go back, but I knew I couldn't. And now it's like, there's times it's like, well, for instance, there was a time my family were all vacationing this summer in July in Monterey, California.
Mhm.
I'm from the Midwest. We don't have clam chowder like they do at Fisherman's Wharf and all the things. And they had all these samples out on Fisherman's Wharf. And so I had some clam chowder, thinking, oh, that's no big deal. And it's really, one bowl of clam chowder is not going to ruin your health.
Exactly.
But what it does that we don't realize, it flips a little switch in there that says, okay, since you have that, why don't you go ahead and have a little Parmesan cheese on your salad? Okay, so you put a little Parmesan cheese on your salad, and then the next thing you know it, you're having, a little frozen yogurt. That's, and it starts the downhill slippery slope.
And then you start looking for the relative that tried to shove a Twinkie down your throat. So no, that's exactly, it is a spiral. And just like we see each other every day and we see ourselves in the mirror, we don't realize that the weight is creeping on.
Yes.
So how do you handle that? Like with me, I've never had an issue with obesity, but
Yes.
it runs in my family.
Sure.
And so I always thought I'll allow myself 5 pounds. Once I started learning, but I was a sugarholic, a sugar addict, but I would give myself 5 pounds because it's easier to lose or release 5 pounds than it is to release 100. So what do you say to yourself now when you find yourself, what do you allow?
Well, I'm real stickler, and this is just me, and it's because of baggage of my past. I'm a stickler. I do not get on the scales every day, because what that does to me, if the number reads good, I have this little voice in my head that says, oh, you can have, an extra banana and ice cream.
Really?
Oh, you can have an extra oat bar, And then so I've learned to just go by my hunger and stop. I have had to learn to really develop that, because if I allow the scales to dictate me, or if maybe I'm mad at the scales, here I ate so clean and I'm up 5 pounds, then that will trigger me to binge. I'm very honest about that. I have to deal with
your body, yourself.
I know, and everybody has to get to that point. There's programs out there that say, oh, you have to weigh, or you shouldn't weigh. Everybody has a different background, a different upbringing, different baggage that they're carrying from their childhood.
Yep.
So I tell everybody, you have to know who you are. If the scales motivate you, by all means, weigh yourself every day. But if the scales are a trigger for you to either binge because you're upset or overeat because you feel like you've done a good job. So, I would love to be at Dr. Fuhrman's ideal weight.
Yeah.
But I've never been there. I've
Well,
never been there.
We're gonna. I want to share with you. We're gonna be meeting each other at the November 2nd event for PBS in New Jersey. I've already got my ticket purchased, and I hope people will join us there. I want to encourage everybody to pick up this book if you don't get it for free today. It's called Starve to Obesity: My Journey Out of Food Addiction and How You Can Escape It Too. What a great topic today. We're not done with our conversation. This is just done for podcast. But we're going to continue. If you have any questions, you can always join us in the live broadcast at Lillian's radio show. Emily, what a wonderful surprise to hear your journey and to see you triumph. So thank you so much.
Oh, what a pleasure to be here.
And please remember, it's time to take your health back. You're not a victim of your DNA. You're a champion. This is Lillian McDermott and Emily Boller wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day ever! Yay!
The opinions and advice expressed on the Lillian McDermott radio show are intended for the individual callers and guests on the program and are presented to our wider audience solely for general educational purposes. Please act responsibly and consult personally with your own medical, psychological, or nutritional expert before taking any steps to improve your life. The Lillian McDermott Show.
Oh, we're at it again. Okay, so let me see. Am I muted? Okay, so I want to thank all of you who have been patiently waiting on the side. Thank you to Bonnie, Sandra, Robert, and Ibrahim. Thank you so much for joining us. You're traveling all over the world, and so I'm glad that you bring us with you everywhere you go. Bring us with you. Yes, I said it right. Okay, so now if you guys have any questions, type in a Q, write your question down, because some of you may have given up. Maybe 100 pounds or maybe 30 pounds seems too much. I love the fact, Emily, that you're living from, you're not a doctorate in nutrition, and you're an everyday person that is trying to simplify how easy a Nutritarian lifestyle is. Mm-hmm. So if any of you have questions, type in a Q and we'll ask the question and Emily will answer your question. So we don't have much time, but I just want to make sure that everybody has that opportunity to be on. So I want to talk about exercise, Emily, because I talked about our exercise earlier. How did you incorporate exercise, or can you give tips on people in staying active?
Yes, when I had 100 pounds on my body, Dr. Fuhrman, he recommended, and I was pre-diabetic at that point, he recommended I walk for a half hour in the morning and a half hour at night before dinner. And because my knees were bad at that point, and my back, I really couldn't carry a lot of exercise.
You were carrying 100 pounds.
Yeah, I was having my own workout.
You were your own barbell. You were your own barbell. Yeah.
Yes. And so it took, once I got those first 40 pounds off, the first 3 months, I literally felt so much better. I wanted to go to the gym, and I started doing like the EFX machine and then the Step Master. And I started incorporating weight training. I started incorporating, just because I was feeling better, not because someone said, okay, you need to increase your exercise now. I just felt good. I wanted to do those things. And so I tell everybody, when you're starting off, if you have 100 pounds and you don't feel well, do what you can. Even if I've heard it's really important, even if you can move every couple hours, 5 or 10 minutes, and just move, get up and do something throughout the day. Yeah. That can count as your exercise when you have a lot of weight to lose.
Now, did you watch a lot of television when you were 100 pounds overweight?
No, I didn't. You didn't? No,
what was your busy... Because you were an artist, so you are an artist. And look at the beautiful paintings in the back. Aren't they beautiful, guys? So beautiful. I love the beauty behind you, around you, the colors of the fruits and vegetables. So we got some questions here for you, Emily. And okay, so we have listeners from all over the world. And I know that shipping books out to Australia and England and India is expensive. Would you be able to do PDF for people that wanted to, that were out of town, if they wanted to participate in the giveaway?
I'd have to ask my publisher on that.
Okay.
I doubt if they would.
Okay.
I can ask. It doesn't hurt to ask. But
okay,
it is an audiobook. And
it is an audiobook?
Yes.
And they can get it Amazon and yes. And of course you can go to emilyboller.com. And so the book, you can get it. So if I don't know how much it costs to go to Australia or anything, but you could get it on Amazon. You can get it on Audible. Can you get it on Audible? I'm making up stuff now.
Yes.
Audible? Is it on?
Yes, Audible.
Okay, so Audible.
I know to ship to Canada, it's like $17 per book. So it's
Wow.
not cheap to, so
Yeah.
I don't know how they
Yeah.
do that. I mean,
It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. I wish we could
yes.
have everybody participate, but there is a limit to that. So it's the 3rd, the 6th, and the 9th person who sends me a message that you want the book on instant message at Lillian's radio show on Facebook.com/Lillian's radio show. So we have some questions, Barbara. So I'm sorry. Okay, Victoria, you missed it. Oh, you'll watch the replay, but this is great stuff. So Bonnie, did you ask a question? You put the Q on there. So if Bonnie, you have a question, I don't see the question. So hold on a second. So if you can rewrite it for some reason, sometimes guys, I don't see your questions. Sometimes it's random where I get them and sometimes I don't. So I don't know if that's a setting. And if Brooke is watching, maybe she can help me change that setting. But if you have a question that I have not answered it, type it up again, put the Q on there. But Bonnie has a Q, but I don't see a question from you. Let me see if I can go somewhere else and see if I see the question. But Emily, while I'm looking down, because I don't want to, why don't you share what you eat in a day and your breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Some tips that people can start off with.
Sure. Well, when I first started off and had the 100 pounds to lose, my breakfast typically, not when I was in the hospital, that was its own little category, but when I was home, I typically had a salad in the form of a smoothie. So I would fill a Vitamix container with kale, and I'd put some water in it and a little bit of almond milk, and then I'd put in about a half ounce of almonds and about a cup of blueberries. I never measured, but eyeball about a cup, and then a ripe banana, and I would blend that up, and that was my breakfast, and that was so nourishing and refreshing. And then my lunch was always some kind. Dr. Fuhrman says, salad is the main meal. And when I say salad, I don't mean just romaine lettuce cut up with some tomatoes. I mean, sometimes I'll make something like that. I'm talking about chopped up red cabbage with a little bit of frozen corn sprinkled in it, with a little bit of walnuts, with a beautiful dressing, and maybe some red onions. And I'm talking a big bowl, And
people make fun of me all the time because they say I eat a lot. Well, it's salad.
And I especially like my bowl a lot bigger than my salad because I like to stir with my fork as I go. I even make salads with spoons. I mean, where you have to eat them with a spoon with like riced cauliflower. But yeah, I always have some kind of a salad for lunch. And then a piece of fruit and my nuts and seeds. And then at night, and I sprinkle some kind of beans on that salad too, garbanzo beans or something. Oh yeah, there's some easy. I'm all about easy, basic, simple. I'm an artist, and so I look at a recipe as your starting point. Okay, these are the ingredients you could start with, but have fun. Use colors, experiment with textures, And so at night, I always have, not always, but my husband and I, we like steamed vegetables in the bamboo basket steamers. And so I'll steam like onions and mushrooms and maybe some broccoli or cauliflower. And I always make up a big pot of soup, a big stock pot of soup every 2 weeks. And we always have that on hand. I love, and it's in the book too, I love a good vegetable bean soup. My favorite recipe in there is it's a butternut squash vegetable bean soup. My teenager, he's now 20, not living at home. He requested that soup. Every time we would get low on that, oh, Mom, can you make that again? I about flipped over because he was a junk food junkie when he was in his younger teens. So it's a winner. But anyhow, and then I always have some kind of simple dessert. One nice thing, I'll show you. I love, these are my favorite go-to, especially if you have a family, and especially in the summer. I take a package of frozen dark sweet cherries and
Mm-hmm.
a package of frozen pineapple.
Mm-hmm.
And I just blend them in the Vitamix with a little bit of water, and it makes the most wonderful cherry sorbet. We love that. I'll take frozen bananas with a little cocoa powder, make a chocolate dessert. But I typically like to reserve my fruit for my desserts. I love a good orange. I love a good apple. You know, to me, and a container of black raspberries, that's like for me eating candy. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and so like I say, it's just amazing how your taste buds change. That becomes your candy almost. It's not because I'm forcing myself. That's how I prefer to eat now.
You rewrote the program. That's what we talk about in the classroom, is how to rewrite the program of unworthiness, how to rewrite the program of shame, how to rewrite the program of past traumas, because we don't want to deal with them, but what we do is we drag it with us everywhere we go. It's always that elephant in the room that if we don't start looking at ourselves with the eyes of love and say, you know, I do have an addiction. And I've been very, very honest with, you know, I share a story that my husband and I went on a cruise, and in this cruise, it was the Oasis. There was Royal Caribbean Oasis.
Sure.
There was this guy that was doing the cotton candy,
Wow.
and it was literally 5 feet tall. I was like a proud kid in a candy store, and I ate the whole thing. Let me tell you,
Oh, you got
I
sick.
ate the whole. I probably still am paying for it, but the thing is that you know, people think that that their decisions is because they don't have willpower. But once you put that kind of chemistry, that chemical in your brain, you're going to continue making poor choices after that. And
Sure.
so it's amazing, and how once you clear your palate, it's amazing how many wonderful things you will choose over that. I can't even imagine eating that today. It's been
Yeah.
years,
Yeah.
been years. And I want to also say, you know, with the smoothies and all of that, get creative, have fun, because today you might have this particular recipe of kale and blueberries and bananas and you know, the salad or whatever in a smoothie. But then tomorrow you might want to add a little ginger or a little
Yes.
lemon or whatever,
Right.
and you have a whole new smoothie. And
Sure.
so it's like you don't have to stick to the recipe when you
Yeah.
eat this way. Okay, so
You
we have a,
never
go ahead.
never eat the same food twice. I have found. I tweak it each time. I was like, I love to eat. They say you eat with your eyes too. I love to make it colorful. I love to make it beautiful. You
But
know.
isn't it wonderful that your palette, you know,
Yes.
you have your paintings palette, you take such meticulous care that everything in
Yes.
the canvas is going to look perfect. But then there you go. And
This is a plate, a dinner plate.
oh,
Isn't that neat?
beautiful. I love it.
It's a friend gave it to me. It's a platter, you know, to serve things on. And
But you know, isn't that beautiful? And so we are that canvas. When we're born, we're that canvas, and we choose to, how are we going to do that? And so we hurt ourselves so much without even thinking. So Barbara Scott would like to know if you could give us a dressing, a real quick dressing that's delicious that you use.
yes, it's real easy. You take a ripe avocado. If you don't have a blender or a Vitamix, you don't even have to use it. But for instance, like I'll slice up the kale or whatever vegetables I want to have my salad,
Mhm.
and I'll take the ripe avocado and cut it up and then squeeze the juice of one lemon. And then my favorite no salt seasoning is Mrs. Dash. I really like the Southwest Chipotle seasoning or nutritional yeast. And with clean hands, I massage that into those vegetables. I love that as a go-to because you do not have to be near a Vitamix. If you're somewhere and you can't be near a Vitamix, that is the next best thing to do. It's just an avocado, the juice of a lemon, your favorite spices or nutritional yeast, and just massage it in those vegetables. and it's perfect.
Yeah, yeah. And really, we think that you have to be an expert to make the dressings, and they're full of toxins. They're full of colors. There's corn fructose corn syrup. There's so many things that you can just. The other day I was in a pinch. I don't buy dressings anymore, and I have this recipe for you know what I'm going to put into. We call it tahini. It's called
Sure.
tahini, but but I call it tahini crack because I was addicted. It has so it's really, really good, and you can make it really quick. It's really easy to do, and I'll post it in my by Monday. I'll post it, but I call it my tahini crack, and I'll post it on my private page. I'm gonna put it down here so that I'll remember. But I squeezed an orange. I did a half an avocado. And by the way, you could put the seed of the avocado in there too. If you have a Vitamix. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, I never done that.
If you have a Vitamix.
Does it change the flavor? Oh yeah, you can put nuts and screws in a Vitamix and it will blend. So what does it taste like?
You don't even taste it because it's actually soft. It's actually soft.
Really?
So you just take a section of the avocado, put the seed in there, because that's where everything is, right? We just throw these things away.
Yeah.
Then I added some balsamic, and I added 2 cloves of garlic, and that's it. Oh, and a little bit of oregano, dried oregano, and I blended it, and that was our dressing.
Oh,
so
that sounds delicious.
Get creative. I didn't have anything in hand, and sometimes balsamic vinaigrettes, but just take a balsamic vinegar, put some garlic in there, some oregano, blend it up really good. Delicious.
Even salsa and vinegar. That's, there you go. And you have a real easy, quick, just stir it with your fork. One thing I want to share something.
Sure.
I think is really important, especially on this whole thing of shame and things. Whenever we have like a weight gain, or maybe we have quote unquote fallen off the wagon, although I don't like to use that word, falling off the wagon. We're not on a wagon. We're just doing this every day.
We're on a journey.
We're on a journey. But, the first thing we want to do is hide when we have a weight gain, or maybe when we're not doing good. And that's the time you need to really surround yourself with other people, because when you start hiding, you isolate. And when you isolate, it makes addiction worse. So, I just want to encourage anybody listening, if you have a weight gain, it's okay.
Yeah.
You are loved, you are supported, and find people who will really support you in your health journey. And don't hide. That's the worst thing you can do in an addiction is hide, because isolation does make it worse.
Well, they've done studies, and Dr. Fuhrman talked about the blue zones around the world, and they've done studies with the blue zones. There wasn't anything really in particular that we're doing. There were people that drank, there were people that smoked, there were people that ate animal products, there are people, but what they all had in common, at the bottom line, what they all had in common was a sense of belonging.
There you go.
That was beyond how they ate. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't eat well.
No, sure.
Because, these people, their foods were not the same as our foods when we're growing up. Their foods were organic. When they were younger, there was no such thing as processed,
Sure,
So that sense of belonging. So if we withdraw, we just need to know that we're setting ourselves up for that detachment, depression. And if people are depressed, and if any of you who are watching today feel that they deal with depression and feelings of unworthiness, and we need to rewrite the program, just go out and figure out what can you do for somebody else. Just start pouring out your love, and then that will come back. And I've said that before, the reason why I bless everybody before we leave, and I say, I wish you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance, because if I were wishing you harm and cursing at you and wishing you that the boils inhabit your rectum, if I say those things to you, what's going to come back at me? But I want these things for me.
Sure.
And so if you're dealing with depression and you want to be happy, wish people joy, show them joy, do something outside of yourself, because that is where we start developing that tribe and start
Sure.
feeling that sense of belonging. So,
Sure.
I love the fact that you brought that up, because, have you had any, have you got to your ideal weight and then all of a sudden you start gaining that weight? Maybe what do you do? How do you do it? Emily?
Well, especially I think it's really important if you have had any success and you've had a noticeable amount of weight loss and people start commenting and complimenting. Say if you have a hard time and you gain some of that weight back, 10 pounds, your clothes are snug on you. Maybe you gave all your clothes to the Goodwill. I mean, that's what happened to me after Daniel died. All of a sudden, it wasn't right away, but eventually, 10 pounds was on, and then it was like 15, and my clothes were snug. And I didn't want to be around people. I was embarrassed. Here I was, the success story that was gaining some weight. And it's like, no, that's when I needed to reach out all the more
Yeah.
to people,
Yes.
and I need help.
Yes, yes. You hear it all the time with the Biggest Loser.
Oh, yeah,
They lose 100 pounds in 6 weeks. I mean, it's like ridiculous, and how they
sure.
do it. And then all of a sudden they gain all this weight back and they go into hiding. So that's a great point. And also, birds of the feather flock together. So
Yes.
many of us get together to eat and drink. So what is your recommendation, Emily, for people that are distancing themselves from that lifestyle and they want to change their they don't want to be tempted by their friends who want you to stay the same?
Well, I sort of follow after Dr. Fuhrman on this just because I learned to do it and it works. I've literally had to develop and cultivate a new group of friends.
Yeah.
I know that, show me your friends, I'll show you your future. It's like if you tell the guy or the gal trying to get out of alcohol to go back to the bar and hang out on Friday nights with all your friends again, you'll go right back to drinking.
Yep.
So I've cultivated friends, and they're all happy to do it. We meet for walks. Instead of meeting for lunch, we meet for walks. We meet for activities. And I still have people over for meals, and I make nutritarian meals. But one thing I never do, I never say, this is a healthy meal. Because I think there's a mentality. The minute we say the word healthy, people
It's
go,
going to be
ew,
bad.
I
Yeah.
don't want it.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like just they come over for a meal, and I don't tell them what we're having. And I
Mm-hmm.
serve it, and everybody loves it.
Yep.
But, I think we have to get to the point where we got to be willing, if it takes that, to develop new friendships and cultivate new friendships. And those friendships that maybe were toxic, that caused you to, some friends don't want to be with you anymore because you're no
Yeah.
fun. You're their killjoy to their binging and their
Yeah.
Friday night
So there's
eating
a lot of
habits.
losses that go on through all of this,
Yes.
and
Yes.
having a support group
Oh,
that
yeah.
is like-minded. So Bonnie has a question. She wants to know, can you eat a lot of fruits? Are there some of them that are not good?
Well, Dr. Fuhrman, he recommends about 4 a day, but he says that's not a hard and fast rule. Berries, you can always eat berries, blueberries, uh, red raspberries, blackberries, all of them are full of antioxidants and
Mm-hmm.
phytochemicals. Um, if you're leaning towards you have quite a bit of weight to lose, or you're diabetic, or both, he really doesn't recommend like bananas and the high sugar type fruits like Honeycrisp apple. You get one of those big Honeycrisp apples in the grocery store, and you add a banana to that, you're getting a whale of a lot of natural sugar. And even though it's still good for you, you want to try to get on the more lower glycemic of the fruits,
The
the
berries,
berries.
berries are really
Kiwi
good.
fruit, strawberries,
Yes,
green
yes.
apples are good.
Okay, yes, absolutely. Okay, so I want to thank all of you for being a part of today's class. But yeah, I'm seeing other questions coming up, so I want to focus on the questions. So Bonnie asks, is it okay to eat veggies raw or just steam them? Not fond of smoothie. You're not fond of smoothies? Okay, we're gonna have to create something new.
That's a good point about the raw vegetables. Even if it's just a tomato and a cucumber, you don't have time to sit down and eat salad. That could be your salad. But
Mhm.
Dr. Frum recommends about 50% steamed 50% there, a raw in a salad or something, but it's not a hard and fast rule. If in a day you don't divide it 50-50, it's okay. If one day you just want to eat all raw vegetables and another day maybe just a third of what you eat is steamed, that's okay too. But you want to try to, as much as you can, intentionally try to balance it, steamed 50% and raw 50%,
Okay.
to get the combination of the, he has all the big words for it.
Absolutely.
I
Micro,
Sylvianize.
macronutrients.
Yeah,
That's right. That's right.
I could say them all.
Okay, so now here's the thing. This is what I love about our loving classroom, is that everybody's welcome. And Ruth, I want you to know that there is hope. I don't know, Ruth, let me know, have you been listening to the whole entire classroom? So Ruth says this, Emily, I know you can't see this right now, but she says, I need to lose weight. If I don't, I'll figure I should not be here anymore. With my health problems, I will kill myself. So I know. Okay, so Emily, you've dealt with suicide. You've dealt with that. So this is serious. No one, even if you are overweight, the words in your head is what's creating you to feel bad. The weight, the foods that you're eating are making you feel worse about yourself. And so there's a lot of things that need to happen, whether it's healing past traumas. There's so many things that need to happen. Emily released 100 pounds. And so with that in mind, Emily, what would you like to say to Ruth as she is obviously hurting?
Ruth, I just want to tell you from the bottom of my heart, after my son died, it got so dark for me one day that I had to call a suicide hotline on myself. It wasn't that I wanted to die. It was just I was in so much pain at that time.
Yeah.
And the brain is an organ like any other organ. It can heal. And I just encourage you to reach out to somebody, call a hotline, even tonight. They will give you some concrete things to do right now, even tonight, if you're feeling that hopeless. And I want to encourage you too, for the loved ones you'll leave behind. If I could never do that to my family. It is so hard to be a loved one left behind.
You know that pain. You know that pain.
It's unbearable because there's guilt, there's shame. What did I do wrong as a parent? Or the family members that have to then live out that suicide for the rest of their life and all the pain from that. So I encourage you, Ruth, reach out to a hotline today yet. Don't, and they will give you concrete steps to do today.
And I know everybody's sending you love, Ruth. And
yes.
I'm telling you right now that Starve to Obesity is a book for you. So I don't know where you're from, where you're viewing from, but I'm glad that you have reached out, because
yes.
It's so important that you know that there is hope. And thank you, Bonnie, for being so supportive and letting Ruth know that there is hope. Yes. And so I want all of you to know that we're in this classroom. We're all one. What happens to you happens to me. We're connected. And so here's the thing. We think that releasing weight is a formula that only some people have. But it's not. The Nutritarian lifestyle is delicious. I've never counted a calorie. I was encouraged to go raw vegan for 1 month. And I said, okay, I'll try it. And after 4 or 5 days of being raw vegan, I felt really good, but I wasn't feeling bad. You don't know what good feels like or better feels like until you try something different and new. So what would you say to Ruth is the first thing that she can do when it comes to taking the first step towards setting herself up for success?
Ruth, I think it's so important. Like, I made out the Dr. Fuhrman's eating plan. It's in his book, Eat to Live. It's the 6-week plan.
Mhm.
Type it out about this big and take it and get it laminated. Even if you can't get it laminated, just have that plan with you. Write it on an index card if you don't have access to a printer. Write it out, and right now you're not in a frame of mind you can think things through when you have a lot of temptations coming at you, and use that index card to make all of your decisions right now. And believe me, and I am not exaggerating this one bit, you will start feeling better once you get through that first week of withdrawal. Hang on, don't quit on day 3 and go back to eating a cookie because they'll make you feel better. But hang on, have that index card make all of your decisions for you.
Yes.
And that's what I encourage you, because when you're feeling hopeless like that and just so despondent, I've been there. Many times. I mean, I have been there when I was 100 pounds overweight. I know what that feels like. You don't have clothes to wear. You can't fit into a car seat. You can't even go camping in a tent. It's just so miserable. I understand that pain. So use that index card to make your decisions for you right now.
And another thing I want all of us to think about is once we're 100 pounds overweight, once we're at that level where you're morbidly obese, you're taking medications that have side effects that make you feel depressed. So there's a lot of, it's like a hamster going in this hamster wheel going nowhere. And we think that we're doing the right thing by taking the pill. But this is the question that Dr. Fuhrman and I once had we had this conversation, and it was on the air, as a matter of fact. He's been on a regular monthly since 2015. And one of those conversations was talking about diabetes. And I said, what if there wasn't a pill? What if there wasn't a pill to take to squash and allow you to continue doing what you shouldn't be doing, or what we know is harming us? What if there wasn't a pill? What would we do differently? How would we eat differently? How would we think differently? So I would say that sometimes these pills have a side effect. And I'm not saying get off the pills. I'm not saying that. I'm saying wean yourself off, because Emily, one of the side effects of releasing weight is that your health gets better and you don't need the drugs that are causing you the side effects.
Yeah, and just the whole mental health. I was depressed all the time when I was overweight. And that's the first thing I noticed, was that first the brain fog went away, and then I just started being happier because it's like I had hope. And it's like I just came back to life. And my kids noticed that the most, and that's what changed them to want to eat healthy. They saw the difference in me. I was no longer just so sad all the time. I had life, and like you said, sometimes you don't know you even feel
you think
unwell.
That this is the best it's going to be ever.
Yeah,
it's not.
And it gets so much better. I'm 58 years old now, and I feel better at 58 than I ever did at 38.
That's
And
right.
I'm going to tell you something. My mom, who was 86 when she had a stroke, she changed instantly to Dr. Fuhrman's eating plan. And within 8 months, she lost 80 pounds and got off of insulin that she'd been on for 20 years. So it's never too late to change, to change your what you're putting in your body.
Okay, so I want to remind all of you, the 3rd, the 6th, the 9th, send me a message and you will get this book for free. You have to be in the United States, but you can get it on Amazon if you're overseas. And, or I don't know if is there Amazon overseas?
Yes.
Okay, so they can get it from there
Sure.
too. So I want to, I hate leaving because I want to make sure, Ruth, let me know, send me a private message, and let's work together, okay? Because you're not alone. We're all in this together. Everybody send love to Ruth, and all of us too.
Yeah.
When we send love to Ruth, we send love to ourselves. And so it is time. It is time. And we're about to, because I do need to end the private class here. This is the teacher's pet section of the classroom. But I want you to know that I'm holding you all not just Ruth, because Ruth was able to verbalize how she was feeling. Many of us feel this way. Never share it. Never share it. And as a certified life coach and someone who deals with a lot of people who are hurting because they don't understand that there is past trauma that they've been bringing with you. And this depression means your body is sad because the body is out of alignment with the brain. And I'm just going to real quickly say that this is what I've learned from the teachers in the classroom. Dr. Bruce Lipton, Dr. Emran Mayer. Your gut is interconnected to your brain. The same cell that made your brain, your gut, and your heart came from the same cell. So that's why we get gut feelings, and that's why we, our guts are sending, when we are eating foods that are not, they're frankenfoods, that bacteria that grows in our stomach is like having San Quentin or the worst murderous jail move into your neighborhood.
Whoa.
And they start taking over the neighborhood and, raping and hurting and all that. One would say move out of the neighborhood, or one would say let's get rid of the murderers. The bacteria in your gut is now sending messages to your brain of unworthiness, and your brain knows that there's past trauma, but they want to, the brain knows that it's painful, but your body, your spirit is saying you got to deal with it. And the brain says, no, I'm not going to deal with it. And the gut is sending all this message. So that spirit, mind, and body that I talk about all the time in the classroom is now trying to communicate with one another. And so the gut says, oh, okay, you brain, or your body says, okay, brain, you don't want to deal with the pain? Let me send you pain so that I can be in alignment with what you don't want to deal with. So that pain might be a blown disc, or maybe your knee hurts all of a sudden, or maybe your elbow starts developing a bubble on it, bursitis, whatever it is. The body knows that something needs to be dealt with. And your spirit, your mind, and your body are constantly in communication with one another.
Sure.
And so the best thing that you can do is seek help, whether it's, reaching out to me or reaching out to somebody that will love you to help you. And there's also, in my website at whenyounneedafriend.com, there's the responsibility question. And when you become a subscriber, you get the 90-day challenge to self-love ebook for free. Those are all things that have come from all the teachers in the classroom. So that's part of this journey that you're on, is those 4 little questions of taking responsibility that have nothing to do with blame, shame, fault, or duty. And you start looking at these things that have happened in our life, and they didn't happen to you. They happened for you. They happened to build your character. They happened to make you stronger. They happened because you were meant for something more. And when you open yourself for that more, your body, your spirit, and mind will equip you with everything you need. In Romans 8, it says, all things work out for the good of all, not just me, but you too. So whatever happens in our past, if we look at it as a gift and a lesson and we learn from it, then life is more bearable. I am sure, Emily, that when you lost your son, there was nothing that could be beneficial. How could that benefit anyone? Mm-hmm. But can you see, looking back now, how you've been able to help so many people?
Yes, before he died, it's like, oh, I lost 100 pounds. Now it's like, I understand pain. I understand a much deeper level of pain and sadness and grief. Yeah, absolutely. There's so much sadness, and I understand it now, and I didn't have that before I went through this, and it's like God has prepared me through all that to really help other people now in a much more compassionate way than I
Yes.
didn't have. I was a compassionate person before, but now it's a whole different level.
Yeah, you look at when you experience something like this, you know, you think, oh, why did this happen to me? But then when you see that ugly gift that was given to you, that ugly wrapping paper, once you start peeling that paper away
Yes.
and you see the diamond that's in there, the brightness, the gold that's in there, and you start seeing it as that, because you can see something like horrible, but all of a sudden, if you shift your perspective of what you're looking at, you can see the beauty.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Yes.
the beauty. And
Yes.
one could say, I could never see the beauty of losing a child. But it takes that 100% ownership
Mhm.
to go back and say,
Yeah.
I see it now.
Yeah. I've grown so much because of the last 7 years, you know?
Absolutely. And because of it, you shine brighter than you did
Ah,
before.
yeah.
Yeah.
I believe that. You know, life is just hard for people, and it's like I have something to give to people now, which I didn't have that before. I could listen to stories, but I didn't know how to empathize because I'd never experienced something like that
Yeah.
before.
Yeah. And nobody wants this.
No.
Nobody wants it. But these
Yeah.
are the moments where we grow the most.
Oh,
People
absolutely.
people that go through addiction and come out of addiction now can help people with addiction. Emily, if you didn't go through your food addiction, you and I wouldn't be having this conversation right now,
No, no.
right?
Yes, yes.
You
No.
learned firsthand that your addiction, your pain had purpose. And
Yes.
once you start looking at pain through the eyes of purpose, ah,
Yes. And if I can get free, anybody can get free. I used to eat my kid's birthday cake from a party out of the trash can. I mean, the things I used to eat, and if I can get free of that, anybody can get free. And I'm
that's it.
serious. That is my heart to everybody. You can get free. It's not a willpower. It's there's just a process that you can get to freedom. You can get there.
And I will let that be the final image.
Yes.
And I just want you guys to all know that you're in my heart, in my prayers. I want us to continue this conversation. Emily, I want you to return and I want to talk about suicide with you and
Sure.
have that conversation. And I want Ruth, again, you are loved. You are
Yes.
loved. Did you see all that love that everybody who's watching sent you? You're not alone. Let this be the day that you claim your life back and say,
Yes.
I don't care how much I weigh today,
Mm-hmm.
10 months from now. And perhaps maybe, I don't know, maybe Dr. Fuhrman can help. Maybe maybe she can go to the PBS. I don't know if you live in New Jersey. Maybe you can go to the PBS on November 2nd and listen to the people that are there, that were right in your place with diseases. Your body will heal, will go back to where you need to be. The book is called Starve to Obesity. Be the third. I think I've given them all away again already. I think I've given all the books away already. But Be the Third, the Sixth, and the Ninth. Instant message at Lillian's radio show. And heck, just send it to me. We'll figure something out. And thank you so much, Emily. Thank you guys all for being a part of this classroom. Please like us, share, let people know that we're here to grow together, spirit, mind, body. We'll see you soon. Bye. Okay.